So this particular one is when you have multi-identities and one of them is atheist, or when you have multi-identity and one of them is queer, and when you have multi-identity and one of them is kink. So we're going to talk about kink. I'm going to talk about kink and disability. So how does that sound? All right. So when I want to start off, I was born visually impaired, legally blind, and I used to say that legally blind is I can just walk, run in the walls, and not get any, I know, I see you, brother. Yes, and I love seeing you, totally. I was going to ask you about technology, but I bet you're tired of hearing that too. So, and I did go to Governor Moorhead School for the Blind in North Carolina, in Raleigh. And per my understanding, it used to be it's a government-run school. But they had religion all up in that joint. I'm like, what the heck? We prayed when we got up. We prayed when we sat for every meal. And then we had some devotional service. And I certainly wasn't devoted. I'm like, what the? So, and actually it was my first experience of going into Catholic church. I thought it was really big and pretty, but damn. Do we have to? And it was never forced on me, per se. I didn't have to go to the special church where other blind kids went on Sundays. They used to have little buses to pick you up. They didn't force us to do it, and so I never did it. But we were basically forced to go and be little good kids and for the Billy Graham revivals that would happen. And we would go, and it'd be at night. They'd keep us out at 10. The thing would end like 11 or 12 o'clock. And they kept us up. And inevitably, at all of his revivals, they'll be like, oh, look at the blind children, stand up. So they can look and clap and feel good that they're not blind. And So it's like, that wasn't part of my life's plan, So later on in life, when I really became woke, I did, a couple of years ago, I did a presentation on disability in the Bible. And so that was the most I've ever read the thing. And what I found out was damn, they didn't see disabled people as whole people. And they viewed disability as a means for them to get into heaven. Help this person. There was always some blind person or some lame person or something like that. The terms they use are just negative and awful. But they were always on the outside of town. And they were always begging for some type of food or something like that. And Jesus or whoever the hell will come up and try to heal you. And so therefore, save your soul. Your soul is already oh, by the way, y'all don't use language, that's whatever. But your soul, you already fucked up. So it was like disability, people with disability had no soul. And we were as tools or gateways for them to go in to get into heaven. You say that disabled person, you sure shot in heaven. It's kind of like, the movies when able-bodied people will play disabled people because they knew it was a surefire way to get an Emmy. It's like that. Really. So I was like, no, this is not my deal. I'm not. I was never religious, but I damn sure wasn't after that. So after I did that, I really started looking at disability and religion. And I really think that disability, because of the fact that religion did not view disabled people as fully whole beings, that attitude has transferred into the main reason why disabled people fight so hard today, is because the general idea is that we're not whole people because we're lacking, which is that's their general idea. But of course, as disabled people, I like to say we some brilliant ass folks, because if you're lacking in society, you have to constantly figure out how to make society fit for you. Like, I mean, just total brilliant people. At this point, I would tell you that I am a disability activist. I helped start a group called Disability Queers in Action in Atlanta. I work nationally with a group called the Disability Justice Collective, that I work with some pretty powerful, amazing, queer disabled activists. Eli Clare, who is a noted disability activist and author, who does a lot of work within trans and disability, that intersectionality. So, doing this work and connecting with other people with disabilities, and it really just forging our way in this world and trying to deal with the negative attitudes that are very pervasive within all these communities that and that calls for intersectionality. So I really do believe that religion, because it also has a negative idea towards sex, that you want to make some believer's head explode, talk about disability in sex. And it's like, I'm not cleaning up your brains from the floor. Not gonna happen. So I was always interested in kink ever since I became a sexual being. And just because I'm just radical as shit, it was like, well, let's go for the most complicated. But, so I did a lot of work within, I became an educator within the leather and BDSM community. And my primary focus, of course, was disability. Because as a group of people, disabled people, because people don't view us as sexual beings, we exist in this isolation where we don't have access to knowledge, to sexual knowledge, sexual health. And so that's vital. So I do primarily my work in sexuality with disabled kinksters, because we're out there. And so as a person that does this work, I ID as a film dom. Yeah. Yes. And so, wow, time flies. So within the other thing I learned, and in a way it's kind of disappointing, but one of the things that I've learned in doing this work is that the kink community, just like within vanilla space, and I hope you don't mind the vanilla, it's endearing. So within, just like vanilla space in the community as a whole, even within atheist spaces, we do bring from the general society into the community. We all know that. We know that atheists, we bring in from the communities that we grew up in, which is primarily religious. We bring in some elements into our community. And so we're constantly kind of battling that kind of issue. So within kink, my first disappointment that I had to get over was that we bring attitudes of how disabled people are into the kink community. And so what happens is that, again, for those disabled people who do enjoy kink, they're really seen as kink sexual beings. And so what happens is that on a very ground level, people don't want to play with disabled people. Or they think, well, if you actually play. And not everybody in kink actually do BDSM. But for those who do, they're like, oh, I don't want to play with that person. That person is this. And I do workshops called What the Kink Community Can Learn from the Disability Community. Because oddly enough, if you're new and you haven't really heard anything about the kink community, you know what? I'm going to tell you. It's pretty much about talk. It really is. When you negotiate everything. Because it's like, you want to have the best experience that you possibly can. And in that, you are defining and taking care of your needs and helping taking care of the person that you're playing with need. So there is a lot of communication. And so I say to them, I'm like, well, as disabled people, and if you want to live your best life, you have to work with other people. And so you have to say, this is what I need. This is what keeps me healthy. This is what keeps me strong. And sometimes that's hard, but when you're in a community that already decides this is what you need, or you can't do this, then it becomes really difficult. And, the isolation is a real thing. But the thing is that disabled people, we are sexual beings. We are human beings. We like to get down. We like to get up. We like to be tied up. And we like to tie people up. And then we like to tell you what to do. Get your film dom on or your sub home. Hey. You like the flag. By the way, I'm inventing a flag. Because I think film doms need to be seen. Because we're rare. Hey! And I'm actually going to DomCon next week, where I will be debuting that flag. So back to the disability and the kink community. There are a lot of folks within the disability community who play with it. We deal with pain or something every day. And so our relationship to this sort of concept of the various ways in which you can do kink is we know this. And when one of the elements of kink is, first of all, always consent. Always. And I recognize that we had a very tough conversation earlier, and a lot of people have the idea that kink is abuse. So I want to say right off, I appreciate the conversation that we had earlier. It is important, but the difference between kink and abuse is that kink absolutely depends on consent. Consent is number one. If you're not doing consent, and that includes consent, non-consent, that you're doing abuse. And that is important. And the kink community does work on that, absolutely. So, as disabled people, we have experience in everyday lives when people come up and they're like, oh, let me help you with this. And so they will either, if you are a person who is visually impaired or a person who is blind and you use a cane, they will grab you and move you into a direction where it's like, hold up, I don't want to go there. Or they'll grab your chair like, oh, let me help them. But they're not seeing you. Again, it's this whole thing that the foundation is within the Bible. So I saw this lame person, I got to help them. I gave them food and I helped them to walk. It's all about curing to get you into heaven. So you can't do what the Jesus dude did and cure somebody, but you can help them without even, that is the way people view disabled people in. I'm not curing you, but I'm making your life easier. But you're not making anybody's life easier if you are not talking to that person. And so again, the idea of consent is important, because otherwise you are abusing this person. So you go up and you're like, hey, what do you need? And I do this as a person that is disabled and works with disabled people. What do I need to do to make you comfortable in this space? And if you're asked for help, what do you need me to do? Because you use what you use every day and I don't. And even if I did, you do it differently than me. And so that is the foundation of kink as well. How can I help you have your best scene? And so you ask. And so when I talk to disabled folks, I tell this to them. You know, because there's a lot of shame, even if you're able-bodied, if you do kink. And then there's a lot of shame with disabled people if they like kink. And because of the fact that a lot of disability generally is housed within religious spaces, because again, as I said, that's where these churches and everything, they feel that, you know, they're going to get into heaven by helping these people out. And they need to be helped out because there's something wrong. And then, of course, they'll turn around and say, God don't make mistakes. I'm like, well, wait, you just said. Now, I get that a lot as a person with albinism. I don't feel that albinism is a disability, it's a condition, but I'll get it all the time. You know, you're beautiful, but, you know, God don't make mistakes. I'm like, well, God didn't make me anyway. Depending on how I'm feeling, because I can get snarly as hell. So, but in claiming sexuality as disabled people is really a difficult process because, especially if you were born with a disability, chances are if you went to a school and anything like that, you were very much connected with church. And so that level of shame that goes with it is really strong. So a lot of people live with shame and they don't feel strong enough, or they're not getting support in actually living their strong life if it is kink. And so they don't have that sort of feeling about it. But anyway, so I want to wrap it up, but I want to say that when I teach disability and BDSM together, the first thing I do is work on that shame issue, because that shame will stop you from seeking information. And you really need to take care of yourself by getting as much information as queer folk out there as you need, because you're not going to have a good scene, you're not going to have a good experience. And it's all about having that good experience. So I guess the take home from this is that as disabled people, we are sexual beings, and knowledge is power, and knowledge is orgasm, and knowledge is just, hey, and communication. And so this was a talk to just put that out there, you know. So I do a much bigger talk. If you're interested in having me talk, that's cool. If you're not, I'm going to still talk about kink. So, thank you so much.